Hello everybody, my name's Steve, I'm the British Railroader and welcome to the Model Railway Room, where I'm going to do a part 2 to my video that I released yesterday about fitting a new Soundtraxx Blunami decoder to one of my locomotives. Now, when I started making the video, my intention had been to go through the fitting and then talk a little bit about programming, etc. But what I found was that actually, once I'd fitted it and then I started using it, I was able to get it working absolutely fine. But it's such a different interface. As I said yesterday, I'm used to using one of these and doing it this way. And I'm not used to having to use a tablet like this to be able to control my loco. So what I thought I would do today is I would make a second video where I talk about what I did when it came to programming the loco, because as you know, with Soundtraxx decoders, when you put them in, you know they've set to loads of default settings, but you need to tweak them to make sure you've got the right prime mover, the right bell, the right horn. You can change all the volume settings, the running qualities, etc. And normally I would do that using the CVs on a controller, but with Blunami you can do it slightly differently. So I'm going to show you what you can do with the in the way of programming. But before I do that, I just want to make a quick mention of the fact that I've had quite a few comments regarding the installation. Thank you to everybody who's commented. Someone contacted me on Facebook, and not being critical at all, but suggesting that I could have done it another way. And what they said was I could have used a decoder buddy and a 21 pin decoder, which would have shortened the length that, you know, within the body. And then I could have put the speaker either in the speaker housing or fitted one in the cab, and then used the little bit of space that's left for my keep alive, etc. Thing is there are lots of ways that this could have been done. I just happened to pick this way because it looked like the best way at the time. What I hadn't realized is just how little room there was under the hood, and having to then lower the decoder by taking out the circuit board mounts was really the only way to do it. But it's all worked. Everything looks good. Everything looks fine. Everything's in place. So, you know, just be mindful that there is more than one way of doing this. This is just the way I happened to do it. Okay, so let's go over to the layout and let's have a little play with the locomotive. Okay, so here we are over at the layout, and I've got my tablet set up with the app on, and this is the screen that you get when you're connected to the loco. So I'm just going to take us back. And this is the main screen, and as you can see here, we have the name of the loco and whether it's connected or disconnected. Now, obviously I've programmed my loco, so what would normally happen is when it's a fresh decoder, it will come up as Blunami #1 or something like that, and then you're able to name it within the system. So the first thing we do is we go to standard, and that brings us up to the main screen. And this is our control screen. So we have bell, we have short horn, and we have longer horn. We also have the headlights on and off. And then we've got our forward and reverse button just here. And that's our emergency stop. Now this here controls the speed. And at the moment, I've got the locomotive off, and we'll put that on in a moment. Down here, we've got a settings button and a functions button. Just press the functions button. And as you can see, I've got all the background noises going on, so I do apologize that you can hear things. But with the functions button, and I'm just going to just focus on that just a little more. It goes through, so here we've got functions 0 to 14. So we've got headlight, bell, air horn, short air horn, and then all of the other bits that would normally come with a Tsunami decoder. This is the thing is with this, it's set up in exactly the same way as Soundtraxx's Tsunami. So if you can use a Tsunami decoder, you can use a Blunami. So you've got F0 to 14, and then you just toggle over, and then you've got the later ones there, F15 to F28. Obviously not using all of the functions at the moment, so we'll just scoot back out for a second. The other thing we've got here is the settings button. So we press settings, and then we've got general settings, sound settings, light settings, speed settings, CV settings, function remap, manage function panel, DDE, and consist functions. Now, I'm not going to go into all of them, but we're going to start with general settings. And here is where you can put in your details. So, Loco nickname. So I've called this one Union Railroad number 24. DCC address, you just type in what address you want, and it will program it to the address, so that when I then go and use it on an ordinary DCC system, the address is number 24. Decoder type is a diesel EMD 2PMP, decoder version, blah, 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 blah. So this has got all of those bits in there under general settings. If we come out of that and we go to sound settings, we've got master volume. So we've got the master volume that you can set. We've then got main sounds. Let's just press that. And here is where you choose things like your prime mover. So let's just focus in up here a little bit on the prime mover. My phone will do it. There we go. So as you can see, I've got an EMD 645E 12-cylinder non-turbo programmed into this. If I press on this, it tells you all of the different prime movers that are on this particular decoder. And you just click on it and choose which one. Now, normally, you would go into your CV settings and you'd look at the list. And I think this would be number 2 on CV. Let me just check. Normally, you'd go into CV123, and this would be number 2. But on this, you haven't got that. On this, you just press and click. So we're just going to OK that. You can do your engine notch rates. You've got your bell, your air compressor. You know, there are, everything is on here, and you don't have to do it using your CVs. I mean, we just scroll up, uncoupled, generator, auxiliary horn. I'm just trying to find where there's my horn. There we go. We've got a Nathan P3, which I'm reliably informed by a dear friend that that is what these particular locos had. So that's your main sounds. You've then got other sounds. So this is all of the auxiliary things. I've switched off things like dynamic brakes, etc., because you don't need them on this particular loco. We've got other settings. So this is your RPM interlock, which is enabled, auto start, which I've disabled, etc. So you can go through all of that. You've got reverb, equalizer, alternate sound mix, automatic sound control. So we've got brake squeal is enabled. I've disabled the auto bell because I don't need it, but I've got the brake squeal enabled and set up so that when this thing slows down, you get the brake squeal. Okay, we'll come out of sound settings. Light settings I haven't really touched because there's only a headlight and a tail light on this, but you've got all the brightness settings, etc. And you can fiddle with all of your different functions if you need to. Speed settings, we've got your speed settings here. So you've got your acceleration, your deceleration, which way, you know, your normal direction, constant brake distance, speed step mode, speed table method. You can put all of that in there. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take us to CV settings, because what it can do is it can scan all of the CVs. Okay. And it can also read and write CVs. So if you wanted to put in what CV, put in a CV and then just work out what it is, you can do that. Let's come out of that. But one of the things that's most useful for me, and this is because of the way that I've always programmed before, is this one here gives you all of your CVs. So every single CV that is in this locomotive is on this table here. Okay, so there's several hundred of them. And so this is CVs 1 to 256. They've got separate ones for the index CVs. And this has really helped me because there are certain things that I'm just so used to programming via CVs. But again, I can do it here. So look, CV112 sound configuration, I've got it set at 11. I can press on that and I can change it. and then it will write it to the locomotive. So I can do all of this using the CVs. So you've got several ways of setting up your locomotive so that it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move this out of the way and then just turn this around here. We'll focus on the loco. Okay, so we've got the loco here. Now, just to show you, there we go. So my DCC system is on, and this is set to number 24, but this is not controlling. So I'm pressing the horn here. This is only supplying power because the loco is connected by Bluetooth to the app. The app is now controlling it. So when I press the horn on the app, that's what works. Okay, so I'm going to start it up. Now you can start up your loco either by pressing the equivalent of F5, which is RPM up, or I just tap the speed step once, and then I turn the speed step off just to make sure it doesn't move, and it will go through the startup sequence. Now, I don't know how much of this you can hear because I'm using my mic, but we've started up, and then we're taking her forward, and she's stopping. She's got the brake squeal. Just reverse her. And there we go. So she's on speed step 12. So I've programmed her like most of my locos, so they go quite slowly at the lower speed steps. Okay, so that's her working using DCC power. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect her from the app. So she's disconnected from the app. So when I get this, she still doesn't work. And what you need to do is you need to cycle the power again. Now, of course, normally you just tip it off the rails and it would go off and the power would cycle. But of course, I've got a keep alive. So I'm actually having to keep it off for about 10 seconds. So the sound has just gone off. Let's keep it off for a few seconds more. Put her back on. And then hopefully, I use the power cab, she works again. So it shows you that you can use your loco both using the Bluetooth and using a ordinary DCC system. Just be aware that if you're going to switch between the two, you need to make sure the Bluetooth is switched off, or at least, you know, the engine is disconnected from the app, and that you recycle the power on the locomotive. Okay, so that may be just lifting it off once for a second because you haven't got a keep alive, or if like me, you're going to need a keep alive. Now, what we're going to do is show you something a bit different about this. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so what I've done, if I just swing around here, is I've disconnected the DCC power and I've connected an ordinary analog controller and just turned the power up. And I've connected the loco to the Blunami and it still works. So one of the great things about Blunami is it just needs a power source. It doesn't matter whether it's DCC or DC. If there's power, it will run. And it's not running as an analog engine, and it's not really running as a DCC engine. What it's now running as is a Bluetooth engine. But it does exactly the same thing as when it's running on DCC power. So this really gives you options if you want to run these kind of sound locos, but you don't have a DCC system. You can add Blunami, just use your ordinary analog power pack and add it to an app. And that for me, I think is quite an incredible step forward. Right, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been helpful to you. My final thoughts is that I'm quite liking these Blunami decoders. I like the ability to be able to control them using my phone or my tablet. I think it's a little bit of a learning curve. It is not the steepest learning curve in the world. I think they've made it quite intuitive how you can do it. And also I like the fact that there are alternate ways that you can program your decoder. You could, but it's all within the app. So it does take a little bit of, I don't know, some of the fiddliness of doing it on a, just using a handheld like this. I also like the fact that you don't necessarily need a DCC power source for this to work. I think that gives people a lot more options. But anyway, there we go. Thank you again for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. And when you do, click the little bell and press all, and you'll be notified of all my videos as they come out. But that's it for today. My name's Steve. I'm the British Railroader. I'm saying goodbye from the Model Railway Room. Bye-bye.